What's up, buddy, Master Bronco at the Frog coming at you with another reaction video. How the most expensive team in football history failed horribly, also known as the Galacticos era, I'm told. They had David Beckham, they had Luis Figo, they had Zinedine, they had R9, and they ain't win no Champions League. Holla Madrid! Holla Madrid's downfall. I'm here no matter what, man. Shout out my boy Rymar Football. Go subscribe to that, man. Let's see where it go down.
The history of football, there has never been a club more prestigious and overall successful than the mighty Real Madrid. Throughout every era, Real Madrid have remained as giants and a club that demands respect from even the most fierce of opponents. However, in the early 2000s, the club was going through some major decline. So to fix their problems, Real Madrid built what is, relatively speaking, the most star-studded football squad of all time, spending what would be equivalent to over €1 billion on their starting 11 alone.
Hey, the PSG effect. Let me see if I notice anybody in this starting lineup. That's the PSG effect, spending all this money on a star-studded team. The team that comes to mind is Paris Saint-Germain. Look at Luis right there, Zinedine right there, goddamn R9. Like, come on, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Who would iconically become known as the Galacticos. But as expensive and high profile as they were, looking back on that era nearly 2 decades later, it was simply put a huge failure. So just how and why was the most high profile squad of footballers ever assembled considered to be such a massive disappointment?
There's karma for.
Let's take a look.
There's karma for forcing Figo to form, for blackballing Figo to sign with Real Madrid.
In the late 90s, Real Madrid were at the top of the footballing world. The club had won 2 Champions League trophies in just 3 seasons. However, that was about it. Despite the success, that was their only piece of silverware, and the club was struggling financially. They were €278 million in debt and struggled to fill the Santiago Bernabéu matches consistently, despite the discounts and other season ticket initiatives. So this was when Florentino Perez, or as I like to call him, Papa Perez, one of the richest men in Spain, decided to run for club president and to make huge changes to Real Madrid.
I don't like Perez after I seen that Luis Figo documentary, man. I don't know, it's something about Perez I don't know about.
Perez wanted to transform Real Madrid not only to a club that finds success on the pitch, but to a club that could also turn a huge profit. And so Perez would go on to try to find a solution to generate more interest and sales.
Luis Figo.
And his solution, well, simply put, he promised to get the biggest names in world of football and have them play for Real Madrid. He would almost completely change the structure of the club and would spend whatever amount was necessary to build a winning team. Real Madrid already had players like Roberto Carlos, Raul, Clarence Seedorf, Guti, and even a young Iker Casillas, which was already a very pricey squad. But Florentino Perez would break the bank and spend even more to build what would later be known as the Galacticos. And the first addition he added to the team was one of the most popular players in the world at the time, Barcelona's Luis Figo. And with the €60 million signing fee, or what is today nearly €95 million, the Galacticos era was off to a good start, with the addition of Luis Figo and Claude Makelele on the squad to bolster their overall midfield strength. Real Madrid would go on to win their first La Liga title in nearly half a decade. This one season alone, although they only won a league title, gave Perez the confidence to continue on with his Galacticos initiative. After all, with their generous budgets and strong additions to the squad, Real Madrid were looking more consistent than they did in previous seasons.
He said they first La Liga title in half a decade. That's 5 seasons. So I'm assuming Barcelona won all 5. Let me look it up. You know, some teams be popping back in the day that don't really. I'm finna look up La Liga title winners. 99 and 2000, Deportivo La Coruna won that hoe. Barcelona. Oh. Well, Raymar lied. He's about some half a decade. 97, 98, 99. That ain't no damn half a decade, Raymar. That's just 3 years. Because Real Madrid won it in 96, 97. Then Lona won it. Then Lona won again. Then Deportivo La Coruna won that hoe. And then Real Madrid won it. That boy Raymar capped out.
Well, that's because having a bigger budget and a better team really does help. That's why today's sponsor, Morgan & Morgan, is America's largest injury law firm with more than 800 attorneys nationwide.com, and check out Morgan & Morgan to submit a claim. Thanks to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's video. But as I was saying, the Galacticos era was off to a great start. Luis Figo would win the 2000 Ballon d'Or, and Raul was La Liga's top goalscorer. Not only that, they had legendary Spanish manager and former Real Madrid player Vicente Del Bosque as the manager, who was letting players like Guti blossom into their best ever offensive form. But Florentino Perez was only getting started. Although the foundations for club success were already well in place, he needed to add more stars into the squad. So in the summer of 2001, Real Madrid would acquire Zinedine Zidane from Juventus for, which was back then, the highest ever transfer fee in the world of 72 million euros, which adjusted for today's inflation would be over 110 million euros. And Zidane was easily worth the record price tag, as the former World Cup champion, Ballon d'Or winner, and to even finish second place in last season's Ballon d'Or to Figo, was one of, if not the biggest name in world football at the time, achieving what Florentino Perez wanted: commercial sales and success on the pitch, in that specific order. This 2001-2002 Real Madrid squad had a young Iker Casillas who was just starting to prove his generational talent, solid defenders in Michel Salgado, Roberto Carlos, and a former FIFA Defender of the Year and club captain Fernando Hierro.
You know what I just realized? They said when they brought up Luis Figo's transfer fee, that was like, he was like, translated to today's, that's like 90 million or 85 million. Do you realize Chelsea paid Enzo Fernandez goddamn 100 mil? And today they pay more money for Enzo than Figo got paid back today when you adjust inflation.
A very solid defensive midfield line held by Claude Makelele and was stacked with their attacking midfield options with Zidane, Figo, and to top it all off with legendary Spanish striker Raul. While they disappointingly had a string of losses towards the end of the season, which saw them finishing in third and losing the Copa del Rey final to Deportivo, Real Madrid were, however, looking very strong in the Champions League. They would defeat Bayern Munich in the quarterfinal and dominate rivals Barcelona in the semifinal. Then go on to miraculously make a comeback win against the Michael Ballack-led Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League final, with the iconic game-winning goal by no other than Madrid's newest Galactico, Zinedine.
Hey, Zinedine!
Madrid's Galactico program looked like a huge success. The club had finally gone back to winning major silverware. And in the opinion of their manager, Vicente Del Bosque, the best way to continue to improve the squad was to spend money on defensive players in order to add more balance to the squad. So Florentino Perez would just completely ignore that. And instead, looked for a superstar in the midfield and forward position. And so he would go on to spend what is today's equivalent of 70 million euros to sign the World Cup and Ballon d'Or winning superstar striker from Inter Milan, Ronaldo. Real Madrid's Galacticos were looking even scarier. They dominated.
Liverpool paid Darwin 15 more million euros in that, adjusting inflation. Is it what is it? Is these new players overpaid or overvalued? What's
and kept a comfortable lead on top of the La Liga table throughout the whole season, eventually winning the league title as well as the UEFA Super Cup and the Intercontinental Cup.
So they
and in the Champions League, everything was looking great as Ronaldo scored his iconic hat-trick against Real Madrid in the quarterfinals. Then it was time for the semi-final against Juventus. Real Madrid had a comfortable 2-1 win at home in the first leg. But remember what Vicente Del Bosque said about needing more defensive players to balance out the squad? Well, in the second leg, Claude Makelele, who in the words of Zinedine Zidane himself, was the most important player on the squad for how he could defend the ball and keep possession as a defensive midfielder, faced a suspension and couldn't play the match. Then what happened next was that Real Madrid would get trashed 3-1 to ultimately get knocked out of the tournament. Many believe that this squad was even more deadly than the one last season. But hey, overall, the Galacticos were still looking like quite the success.
I would have been talking my stuff if I was Juventus. I would have went over to Zinedine. Yeah, Zinedine. Yeah, Zidane, yeah. And then I would have backed it on up before he headbutted my ass.
Vicente Del Bosque, in just under 4 seasons with Real Madrid, managed to win them 2 La Liga titles, 1 Spanish Super Cup, 1 UEFA Super Cup, 1 Intercontinental Cup, and finally broke a nearly 40-year-long drought to bring the club 2 Champions League titles. And of course, we know that Del Bosque would also lead Spain to an insane Euro and World Cup trophy in the future as well. Just this past season, Real Madrid won the league title and 2 more pieces of silverware, with a very narrow loss in the Champions League semi-final. Surely all they needed to do was just fix the small gaps in the squad to improve and hopefully continue on from last season's success. So So with a strong squad and a great manager who the players respected, combined with a huge budget to continue to improve the club and win even more going forward, what do you think Papa Florentino Perez did? Well, that's easy. His solution was to simply sack Vicente Del Bosque and then spend what is today 54 million euros for David Beckham. It was at this moment that it became clear to many how Florentino Perez was driven purely by commercial success. Because
So, Florentino Perez, like I say, it was always something I ain't know about, bro. He kind of reminds me of Jerry Jones back in the day for my American football fans, the Cowboys. Had a Super Bowl winning coach bringing us success, but fired him because y'all butting heads, because you want more control, you on a power trip, you want to be the one that's running the show, not the coach who's giving winner. You want to be center of attention. So you don't like that this other dude is garnering the attention, trying to run the show, trying to tell you what to do, so you get him the hell up out of there. That got Jerry Jones written all over it right there, man.
trust me, I love David Beckham and think he's the best overall crosser and set-piece taker of all time. But he was a terrible fit for Real Madrid. Not only did he play Luis Figo's position, but Madrid already had a surplus of midfielders like Guti. On top of that, Florentino Perez promised to give Makelele an extension and increased his contract, but would later tell him that they had no more money to pay him after blowing it all on David Beckham. Then to make matters worse, Real Madrid's general manager at the time, Jorge Valdano, disrespectfully told Makelele that he's supposed to play for Madrid for free.
I wonder why.
Would even let their captain and second most important defensive player, Fernando Hierro, leave the club after 14 years of service. So for the second year in a row, not only did they fail to improve the club's defense, they just straight up got rid of their best defensive players. Crazy. That's like if Real Madrid, in the middle of their Champions League three-peat, just decided to sack Zidane and get rid of Modric and Casemiro with absolutely nothing in return. And as you can guess, from here it all started to go downhill. The 2003-2004 season was a huge downgrade compared to the past few. In fact, this would be the last time for a couple of seasons that Real Madrid would win anything. And it was only a Spanish Super Cup. Hardly impressive at all compared to the huge hopes the fans had going for the club just at the end of last season. Beckham was brilliant and gave some of the most beautiful crosses the world has ever seen, but ultimately was just a redundant piece that Real Madrid did not need. This was also when Ronaldo would never start to be the same again, as since winning the World Cup in 2002 after coming back from massive injuries, his body would just start to decline at a rapid rate. He would also struggle with fitness issues and started putting on the most weight in his career so far. This would be the 2 worst years in the Galacticos era, as in the 2004-2005 season, as they would spend over 30 million euros on an English defender from Newcastle, named Jonathan Woodgate, who was only a decent defender for like 2 seasons max. And of course, the English tax on his price tag, as the market lacked any available world-class defenders since Real Madrid took way too long to start looking for one in the first place.
It must run in English. It must run in the English blood. This bloke looks like a slab head, but
they also spend an additional 20 million euros for the hotshot Ballon d'Or English winning striker, Michael Owen. Ultimately, Owen would only stay a single season with Real Madrid, and Woodgate would only make a total of 15 appearances for the club. Real Madrid did not win a single piece of silverware this season. Then the 2005-2006 season was easily the worst. Final additions to the classic Galacticos was the 42 million euro signing of Sergio Ramos and the 40 million euro signing of the 2006 season was easily the worst.
Look at young Sergio looking like a goddamn Disney Channel actor. Look like he played on Hannah Montana.
Classic Galacticos,
he looked like he was 42 million euro signing of
Sergio Ramos and the 40 million euro signing of Brazilian wonder kid Robinho. They would once again fail to win any piece of silverware this season. It was also the lowest goal-scoring season for Real Madrid in over a decade. In fact, after Vicente Del Bosque was unreasonably sacked, Real Madrid went through a total of 6 managers within 2 seasons. Just an absolute mess. And after the season, the classic Galacticos like Luis Figo, Zinedine Zidane, and Ronaldo had also departed from the club, as they had gotten much older and were well past their primes. Florentino Perez's original Galacticos campaign had come to an end, as he would lose the position of club president to Ramon Calderon after several seasons of Real Madrid underperforming despite their massive spending of big-name players. I would say that the only positive thing that came from this original Galacticos era was Florentino Perez's ability to remove the club's debt after selling the old Real Madrid training ground for a massive 686 million euros adjusted for inflation today, as the land was in prime central business district in Madrid, then buying their new training facility just outside the city for 154 million euros, turning over €500 million in profit for the club. Overall, it was a double-edged sword in terms of finances and sporting success. On one hand, Perez's strategy of bringing superstars generated significant revenue for the club through increased sales. Perez's strategy of bringing superstars.
Whooping them boy like that. Zaragoza, whooping them boys. Zaragoza. I mean, Zaragoza in the Copa del Rey semifinal. 6-1. Who was on that Zaragoza team?
Generated significant revenue for the club through increased sales, sponsorship, and global exposure.
Was that an upset or not? Y'all know y'all love to. Hey, don't sleep on that Zaragoza team. They had some dogs over there, Bronco.
Helped Real Madrid become one of the richest and most valuable clubs in the world. However, only winning 12 out of 48 total pieces of silverware was very much a disappointment. Yeah. Some will say that Perez did help the club financially so that they could reach the success that they did with 4 Champions League trophies in the last 10 years. However, I think if Perez spent more money signing defensive players from the beginning, the club would have won so many more trophies, which would have only accelerated the rate in which Real Madrid would succeed. Like, imagine if they spent all their money in 2002 bolstering the squad overall, instead of just signing big-name offensive players. They could have won multiple more La Liga and Champions League titles. But regardless, this was truly an iconic time for football culture as a whole. They really did provide some absolutely beautiful moments, and marked an unforgettable era in club football.
The Galacticos, man. At first, when at the beginning, I was like, bro, they surely is winning a lot of trophies for them to fail horribly. And then he said he fired the coach, and they started going down here from there. Florentino Perez, it's something about you I don't know about, bro. You was the despicable of that. You was the dry founder of the damn Super League too, wasn't you? That guy is goddamn a terrorist. How the Madrid downfall? I'll be there no matter what. I'm out.